Russia-Ukraine news. Putin's peculiar sense of assurance. Where does it come from? If you believe the Russian leader, everything is proceeding according to plan, and the war will continue until his objectives are met. At the same time, he doesn't forget to warn Ukraine's Western allies that a brutal response isn't far behind. It's no secret that lots of people put their faith in Putin. That's why he still has backing in Russia and among his allies, and why the West is trying to keep things from heating up. But where does Putin get his peculiar sense of self-assurance? His strategy was obviously doomed to fail, and repeated military setbacks for Russia have exposed the country's fragility in the modern era. Nevertheless, he keeps showing that he is in charge and that his words should be taken seriously. Putin's ability to appear convincing to his countrymen and skillfully mislead his enemies stems, I believe, from a sophisticated and rather complex form of self-deception. Many species, including humans, regularly engage in deceptive behavior. As a result of the benefits it provides, humans have continuously evolved to become better liars. We have also become better at spotting dishonesty, and can now tell when someone is bluffing based on even minute alterations in their tone of voice or demeanor. How, then, do those who lie and try to conceal their dishonesty come out on top? We have a term for it: self-deception, says evolutionary biologist Robert Travers. When we tell ourselves lies and truly believe them, we appear sincere and convincing. It's difficult to dispute Travers' assertion that we've mastered self-deception in order to trick others. This deception of oneself can be accomplished in a variety of ways. Avoiding unwelcome data is one of them. Avoiding signs of illness or bad news about the state of the company is something we're all guilty of from time to time. This strategy lets us temporarily ignore inconvenient facts in favor of our preferred fantasy. This appears to be how Putin is employing it. Few initially believed the growing body of evidence suggesting he was surrounded by a network designed to keep him in the dark and give him a rosy picture of events. They claimed that Putin would suspect he was being lied to because he is not an idiot. This is correct, but only under certain conditions. The reality, however, that his nation was feeble and sick never suited his tastes. He was too caught up in his idealized vision of Russia and his place in history to deal with the unpleasant reality of things on the ground. His courtiers complied with his wishes and fed him only positive news, protecting him from any negative developments in the world. This made him quite content. There was always a part of him that knew the truth, but he refused to face it, much like someone who is very sick and refuses to learn about their illness. Russians and their allies continue to back him, while Westerners try to tread carefully so as not to provoke Vladimir Putin. Let us now consider the situation from the perspective of Western governments. Putin may be bluffing by outlining his red lines and showing his willingness to react harshly if they are crossed, but they cannot be sure of this. If a man can't even be honest with himself about his true intentions, how can anyone else? One strategy for calling a player's bluff is to take small, offensive steps toward doing what he warns us against and then observe his reaction. In the case of Putin, this strategy entails repeatedly testing his limits to see what he will do. Many Western leaders, being seasoned politicians and familiar with such games, are slowly but surely heading in this direction. Ukrainians are trying to take the lead in this and aren't afraid to push the envelope as far as they can go. Both their desperation and the reluctance of Western leaders are understandable. Both sides have a lot to lose, but Western leaders aren't forced to wake up every day worrying about how many of their citizens were killed by Russian missiles. But the dictator who is trying to win it all keeps up his bluff, and his opponents keep trying to figure out where the truth ends and his lies begin. The West must keep pushing through the Kremlin's bloody lines, even though it's unclear when the game will end.